Nia grew up in a noisy house where everyone had something to say, except her. She was the quiet one, the one no one really noticed. Her brother Leko was the favorite, the one who always made their mother proud. Whenever guests came over, Mama Saad would proudly talk about Leko's grades, his confidence, his future. But when it came to Nia, she would only sigh and say, "That one, she was the mistake I had too early." Those words cut deep, but Nia learned to swallow her pain in silence. At school, Nia tried her best, but nothing she did was ever good enough. When she failed to get into the same university as Leko, the disappointment in her mother's eyes said everything. From that day, Mama Saad barely spoke to her. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months of silence. Nia would come home, cook, clean, and sit quietly in her small room, pretending not to hear the laughter from the living room whenever her mother and Leko were together. Sometimes she'd walk past their door and hear her mother say, "Leko, you'll make this family proud. You're the one who'll bring honor to my name." Nia wanted to cry, but she refused to let the tears fall. She had already learned one hard truth. Love in that house was something she would always have to earn, but never receive. Instead of fighting for attention, she started saving every little piece of herself for her future. She studied quietly, stayed away from drama, and worked small jobs after school to buy her own books. She learned to depend on no one, because every time she hoped for love, it came with conditions. At night, when the house was quiet, Nia would stare at the ceiling and whisper, "One day, I'll build something of my own. And it won't matter if they ever see it." That thought became her comfort, her silent promise to herself. The more her family ignored her, the stronger her resolve grew. Every cruel word from her mother turned into fuel. Every time Leko was praised, she told herself, "My time will come too." Nia didn't know when or how, but she knew one thing for sure. She would build her own world, one where she didn't need anyone's approval to feel worthy. And when that day came, even her silence would speak louder than their words. At 20, Nia left home with nothing but a small suitcase, a few clothes, and a scholarship letter that felt like her only hope. The city was loud, crowded, and full of strangers, but she told herself she wouldn't go back no matter how hard it got. She rented a tiny room she shared with 2 other girls. The walls were cracked, the bathroom leaked, and there were nights she slept hungry because she couldn't afford a full meal. Still, every morning, she woke up early, tied her hair back, and went to class with a tired smile. During the day, she studied hard, trying to keep her grades up. At night, she worked as a cleaner in an office building. Sometimes she came back past midnight, her hands sore and her legs shaking. The other girls laughed about their weekend plans, but Nia couldn't join them. Every extra hour she worked meant one more meal or one more textbook. There were times she wanted to cry, but she reminded herself why she came: to build a life that no one could take away from her. The city was unkind, but it also taught her to fight. Every challenge became a lesson. Every failure became a reason to try again. Slowly, her hard work began to show. Her professors noticed her focus. She started fixing computers for classmates and small businesses, earning a little money from it. Soon, she found herself fascinated by how technology could protect people. That was how she fell in love with cybersecurity. After graduating, she got her first real job at a tech firm. It wasn't glamorous, but it was hers. She stayed late every night, learning everything she could. Her dedication paid off. She climbed the ladder quickly, earning the respect of her bosses. By 28, Nia was no longer the quiet, overlooked girl. She had become one of the most trusted cybersecurity specialists in the company. When she finally saved enough, she started her own small tech business. It wasn't easy, but she believed in it. Slowly, clients began to trust her, and her company grew. She built everything from scratch. No help, no handouts, no family support. But even as her name started to spread in the tech world, she kept her success to herself. To her family, she was still the failure who never visits. They didn't know the sleepless nights, the sacrifices, or the victories. Nia didn't tell them, because she didn't need their approval anymore. She had built her second chance, and this time, it was all hers. One quiet afternoon, while Nia was working on her computer, her phone buzzed. It was a message from her cousin. "Hey, your mom's at Leko's house. Big family dinner. Everyone's there but you." Nia stared at the message for a long moment. Her chest tightened, but she forced a small smile. She typed back a short reply, pretending it didn't bother her. Deep down though it stung. Even after all the years apart, a small part of her still hoped they would remember her, maybe even call her one day. Her birthday was coming up the next week. Every year, she told herself she didn't care if they remembered, but each time, she found herself checking her phone more than usual. This time, she tried to stay busy, working late and avoiding any thoughts of home. She told herself she was fine. She had her work, her peace, her independence. But still, that little hope refused to die. Maybe, just maybe, they'd reach out. On the morning of her birthday, Nia woke up early. She went to work, finished her meetings, and treated herself to a small cupcake on her way home. It wasn't much, but it felt like a small celebration for everything she'd survived. As she sat down that evening, her phone buzzed again. For a moment her heart lifted. Maybe it was her mother. Maybe, after all these years, she wanted to make things right. But when she opened the message, her smile faded. It was from Mama Saad. The words were short and sharp. Don't call or come over. We're done. Nia's hands went cold. She read it again, hoping she had misunderstood. But no, it was clear. There was no reason, no argument, no goodbye. Just rejection. Her own mother had cut her off completely. She sat in silence for a long time, staring at the screen. She didn't cry. She didn't reply. She just felt something inside her quietly break. All those years of trying, of hoping, of forgiving, they ended in one message. After a while she opened her photo gallery and deleted every old picture of them. Birthdays, holidays, even childhood memories. Then she went to her contacts and erased every number tied to home. With one last deep breath, she deleted the message too. That night, she told herself the truth she had always avoided. She was never part of their family. But this time, it didn't destroy her. It freed her. 3 years passed, and Nia's life looked nothing like the one she had left behind. Her small company, which started with just her laptop and 2 interns, had grown faster than she ever imagined. She spent countless nights perfecting her projects, working through exhaustion, and believing in her vision when no one else did. Her hard work finally paid off the day she got the call. Her company had won a massive government contract. It was the biggest deal of her career. For a moment, she just sat at her desk, staring at the screen in disbelief. Then, a quiet smile appeared on her face. She had done it. Within weeks, news spread everywhere. Her name appeared in newspapers and online articles with headlines like, "The girl they abandoned who built an empire." Her story touched many hearts. A young woman who had been rejected, forgotten, and left behind, now standing at the top of her field. Reporters wanted interviews, investors wanted meetings, and people she didn't even know started calling her an inspiration. For the first time, Nia felt something she had never felt before: peace. She had built a life that was hers alone, and she didn't need anyone's validation. She bought a small apartment overlooking the city, the same city that once scared her. At night, she would stand on her balcony, watching the lights, whispering to herself, "I made it." But as her success grew, something unexpected happened. Her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. When she opened it, her heart stopped for a second. It was from Mama Saad. The message read, "My daughter, I'm so proud of you. Let's meet soon. Your brother misses you too." Nia stared at the message for a long time. She read it again and again, feeling a mix of anger and sadness rise inside her. 3 years ago, that same number had sent her a message that ended everything. "Don't call or come over. We're done." And now, the same voice that pushed her away was calling her daughter again. She didn't reply. Not out of hatred, but out of clarity. She had waited her whole life for love that never came. And now that she had found peace, she wouldn't trade it for fake affection. Instead of answering, she closed her phone and smiled. This time, her silence wasn't weakness, it was power. Still, deep down, Nia knew this story wasn't over. She had no plans for revenge. But one day, the truth, the real truth, would have to be faced. And when that day came, she would be ready. Months later, Nia found herself driving down the old road that led to her hometown. The place she had once promised herself never to return to. Her aunt, the only person who had ever shown her a bit of kindness growing up, had passed away. The memorial was being held at the old church where Nia used to sing in the children's choir. She hadn't told anyone she was coming. She wanted to pay her respects quietly and leave before anyone noticed. But fate had other plans. When she walked into the church, the room fell silent. All eyes turned toward her. Nia looked elegant and calm in her white suit, her confidence glowing without effort. People whispered to each other, surprised by how much she had changed. The same girl who once hid behind her brother now stood tall, graceful and self-assured. Her mother, Mama Saad, was sitting in the front row beside Leko. When she saw Nia, her smile appeared instantly, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Nia," she said softly, her voice trembling with something between pride and discomfort. "You could have told us you'd be here." Nia looked at her and smiled politely, the kind of smile that hides more than it shows. "You told me not to call or come over," she replied calmly. "I'm just respecting that." The air grew thick. A few relatives shifted in their seats, unsure what to say. Leko stared at her, his mouth slightly open. He had seen her pictures in the news, but seeing her in person, confident, successful, and untouchable, was something else entirely. After the service, people gathered outside to talk. Cousins and family friends surrounded Nia, asking questions about her company, her travels, her success. Some were genuinely proud, while others simply wanted to be associated with her name now that she was famous. Mama Saad stood to the side watching. Every time someone praised Nia, her mother's face tightened. She was used to being the one everyone admired through her son, not through the daughter she had rejected. When Nia finally approached her, Mama Saad tried to act warm, touching her arm lightly. "You've done so well for yourself," she said, smiling. "We're all proud of you." Nia nodded politely. "Thank you," she replied. But deep down, she knew this moment wasn't about love or forgiveness, it was about control. Her mother was trying to rewrite the past, to act as if the years of cruelty and silence never happened. As the evening sun began to set, Nia stood near her aunt's grave, quietly whispering her goodbye. She felt peace but also something stirring deep inside her, something unfinished. The truth about her family, the secrets buried for years, were waiting to come to light. No one knew it yet, but the real storm was only just beginning. That night, after everyone had left the memorial, Nia stayed behind at her late aunt's house. The air felt heavy with memories. She walked through the quiet rooms where she had once spent her childhood weekends. Her aunt had always been kind to her, the only one who noticed when she was hurting. Now, standing in that same house, Nia felt both comfort and sadness. She decided to help organize her aunt's belongings. In one of the old wooden drawers, she found a stack of documents tied together with a faded ribbon. As she flipped through them, something caught her attention. A small brown envelope with her name written in handwriting she didn't recognize. Curious, she opened it and found a letter inside. It was signed with a name she hadn't seen in years, her father's. The man her mother claimed had abandoned them. Her heart raced as she unfolded another letter. Then another. There were several of them, all addressed to her, dated years ago. Her father had written about how much he missed her, how proud he was of her, and how he had been sending money to support her education. In one letter, he mentioned transferring funds to Mama Sada's account every term, making sure Nia never lacked anything. Nia froze. Her mind started to spin. All her life, she had believed her father had walked out on them and never cared. Her mother had said he was selfish, irresponsible, and useless. Yet here in her hands was proof of the opposite. He had cared deeply. He had been helping. He had loved her. As she kept reading, the truth unfolded painfully. Her father's money, meant for Nia's schooling, had been secretly used to pay for Leko's university and his endless expenses. In another letter, her father mentioned receiving no reply from Nia, and wondered if she was angry at him. Nia's chest tightened as tears filled her eyes. He thought she had ignored him, but she had never even seen those letters. Her mother had not only lied to her, but had also stolen her father's efforts to care for her. She had taken the money that could have changed Nia's life, and given it to Leko instead. The betrayal ran deeper than Nia could have imagined. Her hands trembled as she held the letters close to her heart. Her useless father had been the one quietly fighting for her all along, while her mother had taken everything, his love, his trust, and the truth. In that moment, Nia realized that her childhood pain wasn't just neglect, it was built on lies. And now that she knew, there was no going back. The next evening, Nia received a message from her mother. It was short and cheerful, as if nothing had ever gone wrong between them. "Dinner tonight at home," it said. "Your brother and I would love to see you." For a moment, Nia considered ignoring it, but then she remembered the letters she had found. She knew exactly why they were reaching out now. So she decided to go, not to make peace, but to face the truth. When she arrived, the house looked just as she remembered. The same walls, the same family pictures, and the same feeling of pretending everything was perfect. Her mother welcomed her with a big smile, acting as if years of silence had never happened. Leko came out from the kitchen, dressed neatly, trying to sound excited. "It's good to see you, sis," he said, but his eyes quickly drifted toward the elegant bag Nia was carrying, the kind that showed success. They all sat down to eat. The table was full of food, laughter, and fake warmth. Mama Saad kept talking about old memories and how proud she was of her children. It was strange hearing her speak like that, especially knowing what Nia had discovered. She kept her calm, nodding politely, waiting. Midway through the meal, Mama Saad leaned closer and smiled sweetly. "Leko's business has been struggling lately," she said softly, almost rehearsed. "You know how hard things are these days. Maybe you could invest a little? Family helps family after all." Leko looked down, pretending to be embarrassed, but it was clear he knew this was coming. Nia placed her fork down slowly and looked at both of them. Her voice was calm but steady. "I'll help," she said. "But first, can we talk about those letters?" The room went silent. The fake smiles vanished. Her mother's hand froze midair, her face draining of color. "What letters?" she asked quickly, her voice shaking slightly. "The ones from my father," Nia replied, her eyes never leaving her mother's face. "The ones you kept from me. The money he sent for my education. You used it for Leko, didn't you?" Leko looked confused, turning to their mother. "What is she talking about?" he asked quietly. Mama Saad tried to speak, but her words stumbled. "You don't understand, Nia," she started, her tone defensive. "I did what I had to." Nia interrupted softly. "You lied to both of us. You told me he abandoned us. You told him I didn't care." The air was heavy. No one moved. For the first time, Nia saw fear in her mother's eyes. The mask she had worn for years was cracking, and Nia was ready to let the truth finally break through. Nia sat at the dinner table, her heart calm but her mind heavy. The air was thick with fake smiles and forced laughter. Her mother kept serving food she hadn't asked for, while Leko tried to start small talk about work. It all felt like a performance, one she had watched too many times before. Nia let them play their part until the moment was right. Then, without warning, she reached into her bag and placed a neat bundle of letters on the table. The color drained from Mama Sada's face. She stared at the papers as if they were ghosts from the past. Nia's voice was steady. "Do you recognize these?" she asked quietly. Her mother said nothing, her lips trembling. Nia continued, "These are letters from my father. The man you said abandoned us. He wrote to me for years, Mama. He sent money for my education, but it never reached me." Leko's fork froze midair. "What are you talking about?" he asked, looking between them. Nia's eyes didn't leave her mother. "Tell him, Mama. Tell him what you did with the money meant for me." For a long moment, silence filled the room. Then Mama Sada's shoulders shook. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she whispered, "He loved you, not me. He never wrote to me again after you were born. I couldn't stand it. Every letter he sent felt like a knife." Nia's chest tightened, but she didn't look away. "So you punished me for being loved?" she asked softly. Her mother reached for her hand, crying harder. "I did what I thought was right. You wouldn't have understood." But Nia pulled her hand back. "You could have told the truth," she said. "You could have let me decide how to feel. But you built your peace on my pain." Leko sat back, realization washing over him. "So all those years, the money for my school," he stopped, unable to finish. His mother's silence was the answer. The room, once filled with the smell of warm stew and laughter, now felt cold and empty. Nia stood slowly, her chair scraping the floor. Her eyes glistened, but her voice didn't shake. "I spent my whole life trying to prove I was enough. Turns out, I never had to. I just needed to see the truth." Her mother sobbed into her hands, but Nia didn't stay to comfort her. She looked at Leko one last time and whispered, "You deserve to know too." Then she picked up her bag, leaving the letters on the table, a silent proof of everything hidden and stolen. As she walked out into the night, the weight of years lifted off her shoulders. Behind her, the house that once felt like home finally revealed what it truly was, a house built on secrets. Months passed since Nia walked out of that house of secrets. The pain had slowly turned into strength, and the silence that once hurt her now felt like peace. She spent long nights thinking about her father, the man she never got to know, but who had loved her from afar. Every letter he wrote reminded her that she had been cared for, even when she was made to believe otherwise. From that love, a new purpose was born. One morning, standing in her small apartment, Nia decided to start something that would carry her father's name and honor his kindness. She called it the AO Empowerment Fund, a foundation that would help young girls from broken families study technology and build better lives. She wanted them to have the chances she almost lost. The first scholarship went to a girl whose mother had told her she'd never be good enough. Nia smiled as she handed over the certificate, thinking, "This is what healing looks like." The news spread quickly. Soon journalists wanted to interview her. They called her the woman who turned pain into power. But Nia didn't care about headlines. She never wanted attention. She only wanted to make sure no girl grew up feeling unloved or unwanted. Her story went viral online, inspiring thousands who had faced family betrayal. People wrote messages saying her courage gave them strength to start over too. One evening, as she was reviewing new scholarship applications, Nia received a message from Leko. It was short and sincere. He wrote, "I'm sorry, Nia. I didn't know what Mama did. I was blind. You didn't deserve any of it." For a moment she stared at the message, her eyes soft. She thought about their childhood. The laughter, the fights, the moments before everything went wrong. She replied simply, "I forgive you." Days later, another envelope arrived. It was from Mama Saad. Inside were handwritten letters, begging for a chance to meet, to explain, to start again. Nia read every word, her heart heavy but calm. She knew her mother was drowning in guilt, but she also knew forgiveness didn't always mean reunion. Sometimes, peace came from letting go. Completely. She placed the letters back in the envelope and tucked them away in a drawer she never planned to open again. Nia's life moved forward. Her foundation grew, and more girls found hope through it. Every time she saw one of them smile, she felt closer to her father's spirit. She finally understood. Love doesn't always come from where you expect it, but it leaves its mark in everything it touches. And as she stood on the stage at the fund's first anniversary, looking at a room full of young dreamers, she whispered softly to herself, "I kept your promise, Dad." Her peace was quiet, but it was complete. 1 year later, Nia stood on a brightly lit stage at one of the biggest women in tech summits in Africa. The room was filled with hundreds of faces, young women who looked at her with admiration, older professionals who had followed her journey online, and reporters ready to record her every word. But for Nia, it wasn't about the cameras or the fame. It was about finally telling her truth, not for revenge, but for release. She took a deep breath and began sharing her story, how she came to the city with nothing but a suitcase and a dream, how her own family turned their backs on her, and how the same people who once called her a failure came running back when she succeeded. The hall was silent. You could almost hear hearts breaking as she spoke of betrayal, loss, and rebuilding from pain. Then she looked up, her voice steady but full of emotion. "Sometimes family breaks you so you can build yourself stronger. Don't wait for an apology to move forward. Your healing doesn't need their permission." For a moment there was silence, and then the audience erupted in applause. Some people stood, cheering through tears. Others reached for their phones to record the moment. By the next morning, clips of her speech had spread across the internet. The hashtag got it trended all over Africa. People shared her words with captions like, "This is what healing looks like." Nia received hundreds of messages from strangers, women who had been rejected by their families, men who had been told they would never succeed, young people who finally felt seen. She spent hours reading their stories, realizing that her pain had found a purpose far greater than she ever imagined. That night after the event, she stood by her apartment window, watching the city lights flicker below. The same city that once scared her now felt like home. Her heart was calm. No more anger, no more ache, just peace. Then her phone buzzed. It was another message from Mama Saad. Just a few simple words. "I'm proud of you, my daughter. Nia stared at the screen for a long moment. The old her would have cried, maybe even replied. But the woman she had become only smiled softly. She whispered to herself, almost like an answer only her heart needed to hear. Got it. But this time I won't reply. She placed the phone face down and looked back out at the city. The place that broke her, healed her, and turned her into the woman she was always meant to be.